with jobs, businesses, and all of that, right? And today, what we're basically talking about is the skill of emotional intelligence. So this year, we started this year by doing research. If you all know, you know that artificial intelligence is changing the marketplace completely. And so we have to do research to say what kind of skills is needed now in the job market, if you want to start a business, whatever it is, what kind of skills are people looking for? And so we had a list of skills and we decided that this year we're going to be focusing on talking about these skills and equipping people with these. And one of the skills that we realized was the skill of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is for me, I call it a lifeline. It's something that a lot of people lack, but it's really important, not just for career and business, but your personal life. And so we have an expert in the house today who's going to be doing an intensive training. We're meant to have two speakers, but we decided to separate this into two sessions. So the first one is going to be today, and the next speaker is going to speak in April, right? So we're going to have an intensive session with our first speaker today. But before he goes ahead, let me take time to read his very long bio because I know Mr. Tunji for years. Right? And so just bear with me.
You probably don't need to read it. I said maybe.
I'll try as much as possible as I can to summarize it. But I think it's important that people know, who is speaking to us today. So just bear with me as I go through this very interesting bio. So with close to 2 decades of unwavering dedication to mental health counseling, integrative coaching, and personal development, Tunji Babajide has cemented his reputation as a trailblazer in the field of mental health and holistic transformation. His unparalleled expertise has profoundly impacted families, organizations, high net worth individuals, and communities across the United Kingdom, Nigeria, and around the globe. Tunji's innovative approach blends evidence-based mental health counseling with integrative coaching techniques, providing a tailored and holistic roadmap to emotional, mental, and relational well-being by identifying root causes and offering practical data-driven solutions. Tunji empowers his clients to overcome obstacles, break cycles of dysfunction, and unlock their full potential. From boardrooms to family settings, Tunji's work fosters resilience, emotional intelligence, and sustainable success. His services have been sought after by global organizations looking to enhance workplace mental health, high net worth individuals seeking fulfillment beyond material success, and families striving to build stronger, healthier bonds. Tunji's testimonial speaks volumes. Clients from diverse backgrounds consistently praise his ability to deliver profound, lasting results. His work has earned him international recognitions, making him a highly sought-after speaker on global stages. Tunji is celebrated for his ability to connect with audiences, inspire transformation, and ignite conversations around mental health, relationships, and personal growth. Now, his key competencies go into mental health counseling, integrative coaching, organizational impact, high network individuals. Tunji Babajide's visionary work continues to shape the future of mental health advocacy and integrative coaching. His transformative impact resonates far beyond his immediate clients, creating ripple effects in families, organizations, and communities worldwide. Now, personally, I don't just call anybody to speak. For me to call someone to speak, I first of all have a personal relationship with the person and I know the person, right? So I can testify about Mr. Tunji's expertise in this area, and that's why today I have invited him to speak with us. And as I said, this is not just a speaking engagement, this is a workshop. It's more of a training engagement because the goal is that after this session, you all can leave understanding what emotional intelligence is. If you have a job or something and they say, show me that you have the skill of emotional intelligence, you can break it down and say, this is how I know I have emotional intelligence, right? The goal of this session is to equip you with the skill of emotional intelligence. So without much ado, I hope Mr. Tunji's network is back. Can you hear me?
Very loud and clear. I heard everything.
Okay. So without much ado, I hand over to you, sir. Please take us on a very good journey.
Okay. All right. Thank you so very much, Timmy. Over the years, I must admit that I've admired your desire to impact, from social impact to organizational impact, and that's quite commendable. Not many people in your generation are that focused, and I think that for everyone who belongs to the community, you should be able to appreciate Tammy for the selfless work that he put into this. It's not easy to gather 5 people. So when you have a community that is being fed, that is evolving, that is causing social impact, and I think that is highly commendable. Also, I want to thank the team that is working with. I always say to people that when you're involved in impacting life, social impact, all the impact you're making until the US is having a concert today in the US. Work with me at some point.
Can you hear me, sir?
Your network, the comment in the comment section.
Huh? Yeah, your network is shaking. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Okay, let me, I have 2 on. Maybe one is interrupting the other. So let me take one out.
Okay.
And just stay with one. I intentionally put 2 so I won't have that glitch where maybe there's a challenge. If there's any problem, just put on the comment section. I'll pause and see what the issue is. So I was talking about the young guy who just mentioned about how the little drops of water here and there had helped him to shape his mindset to now be able to go on a global scale. Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying that because please don't underrate this kind of workshop. You will be amazed. You will be shocked on how much the bits and pieces of the meetings you are having will shape your future. So once again, I want to thank Tammy for inviting me. Also, I want to thank the team. All right. Having said that, I know I have about 1 hour. Tammy, am I right? You got 1 hour?
You have an hour, 30 minutes. I said it's really a workshop, so you have an hour, 30 minutes.
Okay, so I wanted to leave a little time for question and answer. Maybe I'll just do an hour, 15 minutes, hopefully, because I've got so much I want to share. Then I'll probably take 15 minutes question if that time allows. All right, so let me start with a question, and I want it to be very interactive. So let me ask the audience, have you ever reacted emotionally in a situation that you later regretted it? Can I get comments and can I get feedback in the comment section? And if you want to share a relatable example, maybe you had a workplace disagreement, you had an impulsive response to an email. Anybody? Can we do that in 1 or 2 minutes? Anyone who has reacted emotionally in a situation and later regretted it? We all have. There's nothing to form about. Because perfect human beings don't exist. And the gap between the person who you admire from afar and who you invariably encounter when you move closer. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Kinde. Yes, so many times, for instance, taking decisions on your toes. Thank you for sharing. I love vulnerable people. They learn the best. All right. So I asked that because Sarah said, I had disagreement with my boss last year and later regretted my actions. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing. Can I get one more person? Something that is relatable that you have done. And like I said, everyone has done. If you haven't done it before, perhaps you are a spirit, please inbox me after. I want to be your friend. I probably will just take a portion of you and take you along everywhere you go. And I like this topic because it's not just about workplace. Thank you, David Aladesomi, disagreement with my spouse. I'm going to talk about that also. Thank you. So we've all had times where we dropped the ball. The essence of the session is not okay, Olano said I scolded the team member and it turned out it was wow. So it's not about pointing fingers, it's about learning. And I'm not just going to be, it's not going to be a one-way conversation. I'm going to be asking you questions because I'm also a certified life coach, an integrative therapist. And I believe that change only happens when reasoning is engaged. The reason why there are a lot of seminars, conferences, church services, where there hasn't been as much impact as most of us thought will be is because I have found out in 20 years of practice, people who bring up content that helps you to engage your reasoning, they get more testimonies, they get more things done than people who just listen and write. Now, there's nothing wrong if you listen and you write, but it's a lot more important when you can listen, you write, and you can engage your reasoning. All right? So, emotional intelligence for me, like Temi said, it's a life skill. It helps us to manage emotions wisely instead of them being controlled by us. And I always like to say that there are two types of people. There are people who are slaves of their emotions, and there are people who are masters of their emotions. Now, people who are masters of their emotions are not perfect. Don't get me wrong. The goal of this meeting is not to get you to be perfect. The goal of this meeting is to get you to, number one, to be aware. Because until, sorry, my stand wants to follow. Until there is awareness, there can be transformation. All right? So, having said that, if you really want transformation, if you really want to stand out, you need to understand emotional intelligence and be able to apply it. Now, I put in there that I said emotional intelligence is not about ignoring emotions, but about understanding and managing them effectively. So emotion is data. When you're angry, it's data. You are getting data. And studies have shown that 90% of top performers have high emotional intelligence. So I'm going to use, so there are many you see online, but I'm not going to use the popular one, that is, emotional awareness. No. I used to use it, but I had to scale up my learning. And that's why I always say this to upwardly mobile professionals. If you want to stand out in anything you're doing, you must be able to commit to continuous learning, continuous improvement. So there are three things that we're going to talk about today. Is a framework that keeps you in a cycle till you are able to come into that understanding on how best to manage your emotions. Because you see, emotions drive people, but people drive performance. Can I say that again? Now, emotions drive people and people drive performance. So I've had to have conversations with HR managers. I've had conversations with CEOs. And there's always the KPI. There's so much noise about key performance index. What's a performance like? I wish organizations will begin to look at the impact of, blending key performance indicators with how emotional intelligence play in it. If organizations spend 1/10 of their income on training their staff on emotional intelligence, they will be shocked at how much performance people will have and how much profitable the organization will be. And this is data. This is anything I'm saying is data driven and is research based. All right. But a lot of times, the willpower, the political will to drive certain conversation is not there. So I had something with a multinational about a month ago, about 5 weeks ago. It was a company in Nigeria, and they asked me to come and speak about the impact of mental health in the workplace. And I really had to, and I said to the HR manager and the EAP coordinator, I said, I want your management team to be on seat. If they're not there, I won't come. Because you see, so many times we do conversations, we do workshops, we do trainings, and the men at the top, they are sabotaging what you have just done. So I said, except management team will be there. So I gave it to the management team very hot, indirectly. And I said to them that, you see, culture, we say this, that culture will eat strategy for breakfast. If there's no culture where there's regard for open door policy, I don't even want to go there, because I found out that a lot of open door policy is a trap. So there's a lot of organizations don't have psychological safety, and this is global. Where I work presently now, talking to my manager a few days ago, I said, how psychologically safe are people in this organization? She just chuckled and she walked away, because she knows that psychological safety. And what psychological safety? The ability to give Temi a feedback, and I won't be witch hunt for my feedback, regardless of how the person feels. Anyway, I don't want to go into that. I'm very passionate about that, but maybe one of these days, Temi, we'll do a seminar around psychological safety, how you can manage your emotion, how you can manage yourself in the midst of a toxic environment. Because there are times where you have to walk where it's toxic, but there are two sides of psychological safety. A side where you have to protect yourself, you have to bulletproof your emotions. Another side where the organization now has to come back to say, hey, we're going to ensure that feedback is truly anonymous. And you know, we're in a tech age. You can say, oh, this form is anonymous. But at the back end, they know it's the even under a few days. Then Monday morning, you say, good morning. You know, and they're using their nose to greet you and like, whoo, I thought you said this was anonymous. So I don't fall for those traps. When I was younger, I used to fall. So those of you who are here, don't fall for those traps. Don't even say maybe you are. I found out that this is global. A lot of open door policy is a trap. Anyway, there are 4 things I want you to write down, and they're the framework I'm going to use to drive the conversation today. Number 1 is know yourself. Now, know yourself is about recognizing and naming your emotions. Any emotions you cannot name, you cannot tame it. All right? So you've got to know yourself, and I like to use the color blue for that. Now, when you go to the beach or you go to the ocean, what's the color of blue? It shows, it gives you transparency. It gives you that, when you look into it, it gives you feedback about yourself. So there's know yourself, color blue. I'm going to use the colors for something at the end of the meeting. Then the second one is choose yourself. All right, which is the ability to pause and to control. That's color red. Everybody knows robots have green, yellow, red. Red is pause, the ability to manage reactions intentionally. All right. Number 3 is give yourself, which is green, the ability to act with long-term goals in mind. That's the purpose and the ability to do things with purpose. Now, thank God for Miles Moreau, Blessed Memories, who, you know, brought the topic of purpose. So purpose has expanded, has been scaled up. And you see, the first step to mastering emotional intelligence is knowing yourself. And let's explore what that means, you know, because sometimes social media has made things to have different meanings. Now, so when we say know yourself, and when we talk about self-awareness, the color blue is a metaphor that talks about ocean. Ocean represents emotion, something calm, something turbulent, but always moving. You see, when you are a lot more aware, your journey to becoming a better version of yourself is shorter. Have you ever been around someone who had maybe a scuffle with someone else, and you know, someone came in and settled it for them? Then you came in after that and said, oh, let me use Candy. There's a Candy on the line. Oh, Candy, are you angry? Then Candy said, no, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. No. Your body language is showing you are angry. You're not even aware that you are living in denial. So there are people like that who, and you see that person who is denying the state of that emotion will repeat that, and we call it fate. You know, have you heard people say things like, that's where I am, or that's where we are in our family? No, nobody is that way. The only person who is permitted to remain the same yesterday, today, and forever is God Almighty. So you must commit to change. So, and self-awareness matters. So you can't manage what you don't recognize. You can't. So you've got to first be able to recognize and now begin to ask. In that state, I have a few self-reflective questions I've put together, because when many people react without understanding why they feel a certain way. And like I said, emotion is data. And sometimes what is upsetting you is teaching you patience. All right? So self-reflection questions. Let's use someone, I know there are corporate people here. Someone, maybe your boss sent you a horrible mail. You know, something like that still happened in the course of the week. The manager came on the Teams and said, you people should not, you know, give excuse to top management that you are with manager. I mean, the mail lacked empathy and emotional intelligence. Now, I want you to also play into that situation, and let's use a mail, for example, a very horrible mail sent by a leader who is unaware. Have you ever been led by people who are not emotionally aware? Or perhaps being led by people you know better than? The story for another day. So reflective questions, and I need you to write this down. Number 1, what am I feeling right now? That's how to name your emotion. Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling excited? What are you feeling right now? All right. Then secondly, you need to ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Identify the trigger. Okay? Because your trigger is a clue to something that you have not healed from. All right. So why am I feeling this way? What? So because everybody has a trigger, you need to be able to know what your trigger is. Number three, in the midst of what is happening, what are my strengths and my weakness? Some people's their strength is silence. Some people their strength is talking. Their weakness is talking. So what are my strengths and my weakness? If they show up in this situation, because sometimes some people jumped on that team and they started attacking the manager back. And I like someone who had mentioned the fact that I, rebuked one of my staff and it became something else. So it's important to ask those very, very important questions. What am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? Then another thing is, in the midst of all of this, please learn to do this. Now, someone says, oh, what if I'm in the middle of my wife, I don't have a pen? Now, where every incident comes in is the ability for you to now go back and sit down and use that incident as data. All right? Because you must also know that when things happen consistently, you have a pattern. Every couple have a pattern. There's a madness to their conflict. So what patterns do I notice in my emotions? Respect is subjective. Some people, they are respective to a male boss, but they cannot respect a female boss. Even though they're the same age. Some people can respect someone who is British, but will not respect a Nigerian leading them. All right? So we need to know, what patterns do I notice in my emotions? All right? What gets me angry? And I always like to say this, nobody can get you angry. Somebody can do something wrong, but you chose anger as a response to what is done. So it is it's lack of awareness that make people come up to say, oh, my boss got me angry. That's not true. You are lying, man. That's a big lie. Your boss did not get you angry. Your mom did not get you angry. Your dad did not get you angry. Your son did not get you angry. Your colleague did not get you angry. Your colleague did something wrong. You chose anger as a response to what was done. So I always say to people, once you attend my seminar, you lost the right to say anybody got you angry. Because truly and really, if you don't take ownership for that emotion, you will keep glossing over it. And you say, that's the way I am. No, that's one very funny statement I can't always get. People say, oh, that's the way I am. No, that's not true. That's what you have learned. Nobody was born with anger. Nobody was born with social skills. Nobody was born with... No, we all learned it. And that goes to the fifth point question. What insight can I gain from what is happening? Now, like I said, emotion is data. By now, in the Western world, they say once you are 18, you're meant to be an adult. Take responsibility for everything you do. It's the same thing. Once you are past 18, stop saying somebody got you angry. Even if you are less than 18, admit the fact someone did something wrong. But some people, the same situation, some people can choose silence. Some other people can choose reaction, or they can choose anger. They can choose introspection. So your choice, and that's why the last one I'm going to talk about is choosing yourself, the third component. So the first thing is, the first thing I said? Can I get in the comment section? I want to be sure that people are listening. What's the first point I mentioned? Can I get that from anyone in the comment section? Hello, team. What's the first thing? Good. Know yourself. Aware. What's the color that I attached to that? Blue. Thank you. Now, let me give you a scenario. A manager gives a negative feedback and an employee feels defensive. Okay? So, without emotional intelligence, people react emotionally. An employee that has emotional intelligence will pause and think, what can I learn from this? What insight is this telling me? Is it telling me I'm not patient? Is it telling me I'm too agitated? Is it telling me I've not healed from trauma? All right. So I have a quick activity I want you to write down. Time will not permit me because we already spent about 30 minutes. So I want to ask you to recall a moment when you felt a strong emotion at work. I want you to play it. So the mind doesn't know the difference between stimulation and reality. I want you to play that you are behind your desk and you felt a strong emotion at work, all right? And I want you to imagine a time when you also gave, or maybe you're talking to your partner, you gave a feedback that did not elicit, emotional intelligence. Just play it out. Play it out. Now do it. Now, there's what I call the two-phase. I use that for childhood trauma. So imagine you as an observer and you as the person displaying it. Give yourself the feedback. Was that the best way you could have handled it? I leave that for you to write in your notes. We'll use that at the end of the session. The second thing is now to choose yourself. All right. I use color red as that one, which means self-control, pause and self-control. Now, the metaphor red indicates stop. All right. Because emotions will make you focus on the immediate. Emotional intelligence will make you focus on the big picture. I want you to write that down. All right. Emotions will make you focus. Oh, my manager upset me. My partner said something wrong to me. Blah, 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 blah. Because before reacting emotionally, you need to pause and assess your options. Because to everything that is done to you, there are options. Because emotions are neutral. But our reaction is a choice. That's why I said, please never, ever say again that, my colleague got me angry. No, just say my colleague upset me. The reaction is a choice. The reaction, so when you hear people say things like, oh, maybe the bus driver upset me. No, the bus driver didn't stop at your bus stop. And you have to walk 10 minutes back. If you are angry, you chose anger. Some other person will say, well, I meant to do 10,000 steps, but the driver didn't drop me at the right bus stop. 15 minutes walk, that will give me 2,500 steps. I'm already on 7,000 steps. I'm close to my goal. Option. Another person will say, oh, now I have to walk 15 minutes back. It just took me 15 minutes away from the bus stop. That's why I say emotions are neutral. Your reaction is the choice. You are choosing yourself, because impulsive reactions often damage relationships and damages reputation. That's what I found out. Can I say that again? Impulsive reactions, they damage relationships and they damage reputation. All right, so that's why you have to choose yourself. Now, there are key questions to ask before reacting. What options do I have? Because the options are unlimited. Silence, asking further questions. Let's use the mail. Let's just continue to use the mail. So I'll use the mail, and the bus driver is not stopping you at where you should stop. And that's relatable whether you're in Europe, America, and Nigeria. Okay, so let's use this example now. The bus driver, you have been pressing the bell about 2 minutes before your bus stop, but somehow, maybe the guy is fatigued and is tired. Then you walk to the driver's seat to say, I thought you were going to stop at the last bus stop. And he says, oh, sorry, I'll stop at the next one. The next one is 15 minutes away. All right. You have a you have a weight loss goal that you haven't met. Don't forget, emotions will make you focus on the immediate. Emotional intelligence will make you focus on the big picture. So if you are aware, you can switch at that point to say, okay, I was 15 minutes. Well, that's 2,500 steps. Then your Apple Watch is on and you're like, okay, so I'm on 7,000 already. All right. By the time I do 15 back home, I'm on 9,005. Another person will dwell on that and say, that guy, use the F word, on the driver, everyone who looks like anything on the road, they react to everything. They get back home. They give a portion of that anger to their dog at the entrance, to their partner. Then the grandma calls from Nigeria and says, hello, how are you? I said, please, I'm not in the mood to talk now, please. It still proved that you have chosen, because so many people react because they lack the ability to look at options. The options are always there, honestly. All right. So What options do I have? Should I respond immediately? Should I delay my response? What response align with my brand? How do you want to be seen at work? You want to be seen as someone who is, lacks emotional intelligence, someone who rants about every little discomfort. Just like they asked Elumelu years ago, that's the owner of UBA. He said, "Oh, introduce yourself." He says, "Oh, my name is Tony Elumelu. My goal here at this training is to learn how to own a bank." Everybody looked at him like, "Really? Today he owns one." At that same training, I heard that same training, some people came there and they were complaining that the sandwich they gave them for tea break was too small. That the bank, I can't remember what bank it was. Maybe it was UBA. I think it was UBA. They were not UBA then. I can't remember particularly, but somebody in that same room was complaining about sandwich. Tony looked beyond the immediate and made up his mind that he was here to learn about how to own a bank. Now, so ask yourself, so what reaction, what am I acting with impulse or I'm acting with wisdom? Because you see, there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Or a difference between intelligence and wisdom. Intelligence can rob a bank. Intelligence can sleep with another man's wife. Wisdom builds. It takes intelligence to rob a bank. It takes intelligence to snatch a phone. But it takes wisdom to build a good relationship. That's why you find a lot of intelligent people who are unwise. I've worked with professors. I've worked with CEOs. I've worked with people who's got, the big boys. And I found out that they've got a lot of degrees. They've got a lot of qualification, MBBS, LLMB. But yet they're still slapping their wife and hitting their driver on the head. All right? So am I reacting based on impulse or wisdom? Then what response align with my long-term goal? You're working somewhere. You want to become a manager. And don't forget, if emotions is data, one day you ranted on the corridor, everybody kept saying, "Is that our future manager? What's wrong with him? What's wrong?" And you want to be a manager. There's someone who, I was reading that online, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, about a particular lady who, when she was a lot younger, she did her first crazy thing, and I think she either bashed the car or beat someone. When she wanted to take DBS, they brought out that data, and they didn't allow her to get the DBS because when she was a teenager, she had, and in the Western world, record is kept. It's not like Africa where someone can erase your records. All right. So ask yourself, does my choice align with who I want to be? That question is even deeper than that because some people have not even made up their mind about how they want to be remembered. And that will lead me to a powerful exercise I always do when I do emotional intelligence sessions. And I always ask people this question. It's always feet sweeping. It can be a bit hypnotic. It can, get some people a bit troubled. But it's a question you should ask every 1st of January, every time it's your birthday, or perhaps on the 31st of every year. And the question is simple. Have you attended your funeral? Because you see, if you don't decide how you want to end and come back to where you are to start to make adjustments, you will be 70 and in your lying state, we will use AI for your lying state, and we will just plug things on people's chests. And there's a screen. Africans were very demoralized. We like to, when someone is black, we will come out and say, we will package it. Now we're not taking your words, just come for lying. People will just come for lying state. And as they step on a part where your coffin is, there's a screen that projects your thoughts, unfiltered. Then you will hear madman. Yeah. Stupid landlord. Amimu is dead. Increasing rent 3 times in a year. Or you will have mad manager. When I was working with him, he treated me so badly. So Stella is doing thumbs up. Yeah, because you see, if you don't see the end from the beginning, you will misbehave and you will call it fate. F-A-T-E. Or you will say that's the way you are. So I always say to people, the beginning of emotional intelligence starts from the end. How do you want to be remembered? Who will be at your funeral? Let's even leave the age. It's appointed for man to die. That one is not your decision. But you see, if you live 70, you live 92, you live 68, whatever age, when they are doing your funeral, what do you want people to say? You don't want them to say, that manager, he get anger issue, man. If Mr. Kinde sends you query, it's like they will pack your brain and you will not back. So that's how it works. All right. So question is, how does my action add up to my funeral? Deep but powerful. Because if you don't do scenario playing, I did that exercise for a particular bank when I was still back home, and someone said, "Oh, I want governors to be at my funeral. I want the manager to be there." When we were now doing, breakout session, team bonding sessions, when I started hearing what people were grumbling about him, I said, "No, it's not. You want GM to attend your funeral? I know the GM you're talking about. It's gate man. It's not general manager, because this behavior will not make you have a memorable impact in the life of the people that you would want to come from funeral. And that's important. So you're working somewhere, you're in a neighborhood, you are part of a group. All right. Does that decision you are making now, does it add up? And I said to people, it's like an 1 hour exercise. I'm just summarizing. I said, okay, please begin to write what you want people that you have come across in your life say about you on your funeral day. Christian wakekeeping, you are 95, 98, whatever age God says it's time. What will they say? Write it out. Ask yourself, does the behavior that I have now, does it add up? Because you see, people don't like the process. They just want to, emotionally rant about. I'm beginning to feel some shift in my thought pattern. Thank you, Musa, for that feedback. So you need to begin to see the end and now ask, do you want people to come to your meeting and say, "Oh, Mr. Kinde was an emotionally intelligent person. In the midst of chaos, he was calm." If you don't do that from now, you will find out that your tone is just naturally, known to escalate conflict. All right. So I need you to pause, analyze your emotions, and be able to respond professionally. You receive an angry mail, or you are in a neighborhood where you feel slighted, you used. You do so well, but some people take the credit. Because you see, you need to understand, and I keep saying this statement, and it's a major takeaway. Emotions make you see the immediate. Emotional intelligence helps you to see the big picture. All right? So you now need to tie your options with the big picture. Now, maybe they'll say the biggest picture is the funeral. The big picture there is, I want to preserve how I am seen. I want people to have regard for me. I want to be a respectful grandfather. I've been at funerals. I've been at Christian wake-up. I'll sit at the end. Sometimes maybe I follow someone said, "I wish I had this. I would have made some of the mistake made." Well, it's never too late to learn. All right. So I sit at the end and maybe I follow the friend. I'm not so known there. Then I sit in a corner. They serve the regular small chops. You are sipping your drink. And some people are ranting about the dead man. Madman. I remember when we worked together in XYZ Bank. That's how we now want to tell people that Kinikon. I'm not sure it's going to ever know. All this one that pastor is saying that he's going to. This man cannot make it. I mean, and I like those scenarios where I just use it as a learning point. You hear all sorts. Now, when they now call those cluster where they have sat down, they call one of them and say, "Come and give us, you were Baba's tenant. Please come and tell us your relationship with Baba." Then the man who had lied or who had shared his truth comes back and says, "Baba was a nice man. I remember there was a day he didn't pump water." Let me tell you the truth. The human nature is highly hypocritical. and I'm like, did this man change his clothes? I know this face now. We stood at the car park together and you were saying this man. So that's why I said, you are young people here. Some of you still have 50, 60 years ahead. Is AI they'll be using for Christian wakekeep. Just don't say anything. Just come, and as you pass by, when they put the coffin, there is a robot there. They won't plug anything to you. They will just be able to transport your thoughts on a screen. Would you be happy with what people will say about you? That's the beginning of transformation. All right? So you need to pause. Options always exist. Now, if you're writing that, let me give you a tool that it works for whether you're a husband, you're a wife, you're a professional, you're a son, whatever it is. It's called the T-GROW model. All right? And I'm going to deal on the O. The O is the option, but let me give you, just write vertically, TGROW. Now, the topic is workplace. Let's use workplace. R is reality check. Where you had worked before, they said you had anger issues. All right? So, reality check, you truly have anger issues. TR. Where's my English gone? Sorry. Topic, goal, okay? Topic, workplace. The goal is that you want to gain awareness and you want to be a better version of yourself. Reality check. R, your mom said you have anger issues. Your boss said you have anger issues. Your wife said you have anger issues. So that's your reality. All right? Now, O is the option. Don't forget, it's the journey towards a better version of yourself. What are your options? How do I want to be a better version of myself? How do I want to optimize myself? All right? How do I want to be seen at work? How do I want my wife to... That one, when AI is doing Christian wakekeep and wife steps on this, make the wife no go step there, especially when that was complete. Because the man can see something on the screen and can wake up from his casket. Anyway, so the O is options. Please don't forget, options will always exist. Then W is the way forward. And you see, until you are honest with yourself, you can't make change. People who are not honest with themselves, they always go round the round cycle. They live in denial. Okay? So it's important for you to use that every time. Just use that for every part, because I need you to be more intentional. I need you to be more purposeful. I need you to be more, the third word went off my head now, because there are three words I also use for the end. When I get there, I'll break it down. But let me talk about being intentional. Being intentional is, if you're going to be angry, be intentional about it. If you're going to be a good person, be intentional about it. Don't come up with, that's the way I am. That's one of the most stupid feedback I hear from people. When I do relationship counseling a lot, and when I'm trying to do, there's a part of our product that I found out sold the most in 2022, and it's marital distress. All right? And when I'm hearing narratives from either, don't let me put gender now, either the wife or the husband, you hear things like, my husband is always getting me angry. My wife is always getting me angry. And I like them to talk uncensored, no judgment, no right or wrong answer. But what they are done, I give them a 15 minutes intro. Part of what I say is, they prove that you are still saying someone got you angry, is that you are not even aware. You're not even aware that what your wife did is not what caused your anger. And you see, people don't get angry over what is wrong. They get angry over what they don't like. Oh my God. I need someone to type that in the comment section. So you are not angry because of what is not right, or you are not angry because of what is right or wrong. You're angry because of what you don't like. And you see, what you don't like is subjective. Some of you who are parents here, let me also bust your bubble. When you are correcting your daughter or your son, a lot of our fathers did it. They don't correct you because of what is right or wrong. They correct you because of what they don't like. So you now go to the corporate world, you find out that, let me use one typical example growing up. My dad didn't like us wearing rug and shoes on the rug. It looks like a sin, unpardonable sin. Then I grew up, I went to some of my thank you, Sarah, for this feedback to this. Some of my friends, their dad would say, "Oh, TJ, come in." Just no, don't put your shoes in. I'm like, really? I thought it was a sin to wear shoes on a rug. Now, for some people, they don't like it, and I'm not condemning. I'm not queuing behind right or wrong. I'm queuing behind what you don't like. Some other people like it. So when people say, "Let me use food," and I feel that a few Africans here, I've heard people say things like, "How can you eat pounded yam with okra soup?" And they will change their look like you're eating poison. Oh, like, no, if you like yours with egusi soup, enjoy it. Don't make people who like it with okra to feel bad. And I see that a lot, and it's lack of awareness. The ability to have an opinion and respect the opinion of other people, that's emotional intelligence, right? So when people say pounded yam is bad with okra, I'm saying from whose perspective? Because perspective is subjective. Perspective is always subjective. So I'm always going to ask, whose perspective is this? Sorry, I forgot to plug my tab. Let me just quickly do that. So it's about perspective. So sometimes when you are upset about something, you're not upset about right and wrong. And right and wrong is very subjective. And I've seen people who brag about knowledge. You see, the proof of wisdom is advancement. If you know so once you don't know, just admit that you have knowledge gap. Okay? So I didn't know I didn't plug this. All right. Having said that, so we talked about choose yourself. The next thing I want to talk about is now the ability to give yourself, the ability to say, okay, out of the many options I have, I will now give myself. Now that is color green. Is a metaphor for green light is a metaphor for moving forward with intention and with purpose. Okay? And you see, today is a critical platform of exchange, and I want you to take as many things as possible from this meeting because it will shape your life and will shape your relationship. So after I have considered all the options, I laid my options on the table. Now you need to give yourself, choose an option that best aligns with the big picture, not with the emotions. All right. So let me use marriage for example. I always say that the decision to marry is very noble, and it's very great, but many people who want to get into marriage are not even aware about the baggage they're bringing from their history. So it's been 10 years where, so tell me, I forgot to mention this too. It's been 10 years where a university in the US gave me a doctorate degree. So to mark that, I'm going to take 3 sessions I'm going to give 3 people free sessions. My session now is between £75 and £100 for 1 hour. So I'll give 3 people the opportunity to do a one-on-one with them on actually singles. Let me give it singles to get clarity, to get healing, to get clarity about who to marry, and to unpack some of what I like to call, what they call checklist. I don't like to call it checklist because some people even need to check themselves first before they have a list. Anyway, so if you're single here, tell me just decide to do that for 3 people. Particularly people who have been heartbroken, because I'm doing a campaign at the moment called Give Love Another Chance. Many people have been up on love. Some people said love is like chewing gum. In the beginning, it's very sweet. As you trade, it just get bitter. So if you've been bitter, you've been hurt, you've been betrayed, I've got a pill for you that will help you. All right. Anyway, so I'm talking about give yourself. And you can't give yourself if you haven't explored your options. All right. And like I said, emotional intelligence is it's not just about managing emotions. It's about them driving you to success. It's not just about knowing and labeling it alone. It's about using it, So questions, like I said, if you go for a seminar, you go for a workshop and they don't engage your reasoning, you will lose majority of the things that you learn there. All right. So questions to ask as you give yourself to your wife, to your children, to your community, to your workplace. What is important in this situation? First question to ask when you want to give yourself, what is important? Now, is a circle. I wish I had a slide to show you. Is a circle. The more you know, it's like when you just buy a brand new tire. I used to jokingly say when I was still in Nigeria that if they put my car in front of my house and no one is driving it, the tire has so mastered the island, my office on the island, so much that it doesn't need a driver. Now, I use that illustration to talk about the circle of emotional intelligence. Give yourself, choose yourself. It's a circle. As you practice, you will find out that your default mode is now to begin to ask those questions before you take a decision. So what is important in this situation now? Is it to get back at your spouse, or is it to win the argument, or to find a way forward? What is important in this situation? Let's use the workplace. Is it to prove that you can rant, or to prove that one day you can lead? Don't forget I said emotions make you focus on the immediate. Emotional intelligence helps you focus on the big picture. So what's the big picture for me? I want to be a good husband. Does ranting after every disagreement paint that picture? No. What's the focus for me? I want to one day grow on my career skill. And you see, it's a small world though. I don't even have time to just tell me about people who had gone to do interviews somewhere, resigned from somewhere where the guy was very brilliant, top-notch, analyst, but he didn't have people skills. Unfortunately for him, one of his managers he had been rude to left the organization, was now in a managerial role in another organization that was willing to pay ×2 of what he was earning. He gets there and he finds the manager that he was rude to. Don't ask me what the outcome was. He lost the job before he was even called. Because those ones that seen him in the camera and I said, oh boy, he's here again. Right there, and he's gone. So you got to do what I call consequential thinking. It's not a default mode. So if I shout now on my manager, what are the consequences? It's a global world. Now, what I'm saying now is Nigeria and Canada. You were rude to someone in Nigeria, you moved to Canada to get a data analyst job, and your boss that you thought you will never see again is on the panel of who's going to interview you. You know what I mean? The guy must really be, he must be an angel to consider you for the job. Of course, you know the answer, he lost the job. Just told the team, this guy in Nigeria, I know him. Pulled out his LinkedIn page, and some people are very good with facts, either to shame you or to help you. Pulled out mails that he has sent. By the time the management saw the evidence, they just said, oh, you are the best, but we don't just want people who are have competence, IQ, but want people who have EQ. The IQ-EQ journey is always a partnership for a better person. Anyway, so what is important to you at this point? Number 2, what does my response align with my values? Let me tell you, I need you to write this down. So your emotions they are with and they are interwoven with your values. How do I mean? So you are happy when your values are validated. You are sad when your values are violated. You are upset when your values are. So it's easy to know what your core values are. So let's use respect. Let's say respect is one of your core values and someone disrespected you. You have tendencies to rant, be upset. The day can be spoiled because someone disrespected you. So it's not about the respect, it's about the meaning you are giving to the respect. And really, nothing has meaning except the meaning you give to it. All right? Because human beings are meaning-making machines. We make meaning from everything that happens to us. And because we're meaning-making machines, there are 2 types of people who make meanings from incidences. In 2023, I had 2 ladies who were survivors of rape. One of them said to me, these sessions, by the time I'm done with sessions with you, I know I will heal, but I need you to help me to start an NGO to give a voice to people who are victims of rape. I'm like, wow, I'll do that for you for free. Did strategy sessions for her, look for partners. She's doing well in Lagos, Nigeria. Another person came for, didn't even have, this one had multiple rape incidents. This one had one. And a narrative before we started our session was that kept mentioning the guy's name. This guy spoiled my life forever. I cannot become great in life again. Blah, blah. I'm like, rape, career. And she's a banker. Rape, banking. So I always say that be careful the interpretation you give to your incident, because you can give, everyone gives two types of narrative. Some people give a disempowering narrative. Some people give an empowering narrative to what has happened to them. All right? The first one gave an empowering narrative. She chose a narrative that I know I was raped. Okay? I know I was a victim of rape, but I'm going to use this as a springboard so I can be a better version of myself. The other one gave a disempowering narrative. And I don't know who is on this call. You lost your dad early, and he looked at you, well, you lost your mom early, you lost someone who supported you early, and you kept saying to everyone, if not that my parents died early, if not that I didn't have good foundation. But I'm here to say to you this evening or this afternoon that, hey man, wake up. Choose to give an empowering narrative. Let life incidences be a springboard for you to go to the next level. So ask also when you are giving yourself, what impact will my response have on my relationships and my reputation? I call them the 2 R's. On my relationship and my reputation. So if I shout back at my manager, what impact will it have on my relationship? What impact will it have on my reputation? All right. Then also I needed to ask, which option best serve my long-term vision? Funeral. Or your entry level, you want to become a manager one day. Long-term vision. And you say long-term visions is not a default. An average person, the default mode is to amplify what the emotional data is saying to them. Can't you see how Temi disrespected me? And everybody came. And I've met petty people. All right? Everybody, when we got to the party, Temi hugged everyone, gave people a five, did not hug me. Is it because my wig is old? Who asked you? Who asked you? Who is interviewing you? Or you say, is it because I don't have a job? Temi hugged everybody, and he just looked at me. Please, I need your mentorship session. Okay, no problem. Get my details. I'll put my details on the screen. You can reach out to me. You know, so it's important for you to be able to be careful the narrative you give. I've had 2 people who are orphans. One says, I won't go far in life because, One says, I won't go far in life because my parents died early. The other one says, because my parents died early, I'm going to make sure I succeed so that other people whose parents die early will find funds for their scholarship. Don't forget, there are 2 types of people who give narratives who are disempowering and people who give narratives who are empowering. Now, people who give narratives who are disempowering, there are many roots to it. One of it is they've got childhood trauma. They haven't healed from something that happened in their childhood. All right? So you can have a difficult client. Maybe you do business here. So someone has been rude to you. So you are responding defensively, losing the picture. If you don't have the big picture, do I have time to talk about this? Give me some more minutes. I know I've got just about 30 minutes, 15 or 20 minutes to go, and I've got quite some things to still say. Do you know that one of my highest paying clients was introduced to me by somebody who was rude to me? I will always share that story. What happened? So this particular lady had requested that we should start a session. Was pricing my session like pepper in the market. I gave the consent. Invariably, one time she didn't show up. And part of what I sent you when I have a session with you is if you don't give me a notice an hour or two before, it will be counted like the session held and you will lose your money. So you violated that. You still came back to say, I'm moving sessions. That's not our agreement. Really rude. So I said, okay, I'm going to opt to refund your money because I like to keep relationship. He went to report me to Mr. Larry Olushola. It became, and all of that. She said, okay, come and do session. She didn't come. Then account number, let me refund you. She just kept, anyway. So thankfully, I knew someone who knew her. So there was an event where she was going to attend. So I went to look for her and I spoke to her. We reconciled and I told her I was willing to refund the money. She said, no, that time she was going through this, blah, 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 blah. Do you know that one action, that lady has become a funnel for me? I had a client in Banana Island in 2022. The husband and the wife, they paid premium for my services. Premium. All right. Now, I'm trying to say that if you don't look at what your reaction will do to your reputation and your relationship, you will probably be going the same circle and you're wondering why your mates are leaving you behind. All right. So I want you to think of a time when you reacted emotionally. What would you have done differently if you had focused on the big picture? So for everyone who had put in the comment section, I've done something before, I reacted in a way that that I regretted. Now I'm taking you back to that answer you did. Now put yourself back in that scenario. And now that you've discovered these 3 steps, how would you react differently? I call it advanced decision making, ADM. The way to break patterns is the ability to know that this is how I'm going to react. And you see, when people don't explore options, they will respond to the same situation. If that situation happens 1,000 times, they will respond the same way 1,000 times. And I've seen that play out severally. All right. So now that I'm putting you through that, I want you to play out scenarios. Now that you've covered the 3 steps, all right, I want you to see how you're going to connect in a continuous circle of learning. Now, for those of you writing, you are way above those who are just listening alone. I need you to do reflection. Reflection is where transformation begins. All right? Then intentional is when you are now practicing the things that you have learned. And it's continuous process. It's a continuous process. So, like I said earlier, I'm going to use the 3 other things as a circle. So it's a circle of awareness, which is choice, purposeful, which is action. Okay. Then awareness again, you repeat it. Then the big picture mindset comes in where it is more awareness, which is understanding emotions in real time. Being more intentional, which is making conscious choices. Then be more purposeful, which is acting in alignment with the long-term success or the big picture. Okay, so I want you to leave this conference to be a lot more intentional. Be intentional about, and you can apply it to the 3 things. All right, know yourself, choose yourself, give yourself. When you want to eat, know yourself. Is there diabetics in my history? Choose yourself. 2 bottles of Coke a day will affect me. So it is about intentionality. It's about purpose. Okay, because you see, when people don't get to that point where they are not reflecting on what they have learned, they lose out. Now, Anna, like I said earlier, let's reflect on what you have learned and how to apply it moving forward. So if we talk about the big picture, we have to now begin to look at 3 things I always use to, and this one I'm going to stay long on it. It's going to take about 10. Is it past 5 or is it past already? Okay. So on your notepad, all right, before you were focusing on emotions, now that you know that you need to focus on emotional intelligence, this is the big picture, what will you start doing? What will you stop doing? Sorry. Stop, start, continue. What will you stop doing? I want you to write 3 things that you will stop doing. 1, I give you 1, reacting impulsively. What will you stop doing? Not having consequential thinking. What will you stop doing? Not thinking about your funeral. All right? What will you stop doing? And I'm going to take time to do this. You need to write it down. Number two, what will you start doing? I give you one for free. Pause before you respond. All right? The proof of knowledge is wisdom. There are too many people who have acquired knowledge but don't been able to apply it. You don't know it. The proof that you know something is wisdom. The good book says that true knowledge is a house built. All right. So it's important for you to know that. Don't just, and it's very common in this generation where just can I take some water? There's so much knowledge. We have knowledge overdose in this generation. So the people who brag about, I know about I know about emotional intelligence. No, the proof that you don't know it is that you are shouting on everybody right there where you are proving that you know it. So what will you start doing? Pause before responding. Do consequential thinking. I leave the rest to you. If you want to make it 5, what will you start doing? Then what will you continue to do? You now need to continue to practice emotional intelligence. So after you have wrote those 3 things, I need you to now have an accountability. I do this every January. I do accountability coaching, helping people to not just set goals, but holding them accountable. If you can form it for the first 2 months, because it's about habits. If you can form a new habit, then I know you're on a new trajectory. Many people don't get to the end of the session, and I pull them out of the WhatsApp group. The last year I indulged them. This year, but I give you assignments on Sunday when the session, Saturday when it held. If you don't do it before the next Saturday, I'll pull you out. About 12 people, 13 people paid for it. By the time we were getting to the end, they were left with 3. Because I wanted to deal with only serious-minded people. And there was a part of this, what they signed for. Once you don't comply to weekly activities, I'll put you out, regardless of how much you're paid, and you will sign. So emotional intelligence is not about suppressing emotions, but it's about using them as a tool for success in marriage, success at work, success in your neighborhood, success with your friends, your family. And I always like to say that workplace relationships, interpersonal relationships, all of them require emotional intelligence. All right. And maybe I'll leave my parting note to be one major part of this. Please switch off your phone today for about 1 hour or 2 hours. Play music that connects with your soul and attend your funeral. Just attend your funeral and go there with a notepad. Write who you want to be at your funeral. Write what you want them to say. Everywhere you worked in UBA, you have worked in Clam Mills, you lived in Liverpool, you have lived in Lekki, it's a small world now. Even if you move out of Nigeria, people who were your colleagues at UBA, who were your neighbors in Lekki or in Liverpool, perhaps one day they will connect with your children. They will be friends on Facebook. They will see that, oh, this guy passed, was my colleague. It's just 5 minutes away. We did work driving to attend your funeral. Or will they say, finally, the guy don't pay me, man. You don't pay. So I'm leaving that with you. Attend your funeral, come back to where you are now. Start to practice those 3 things. It's a circle. You will drop the ball, but don't quit. You will begin to choose yourself, give yourself, know yourself, choose yourself, give yourself from the blue to the red to the green to a point where you can be the best version of yourself. Thank you for your time. I hope this has been helpful today. So I'll take questions for the next 15 minutes, then I'll be out of your face. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate it. Like I said, I've known Mr. Tunji for many years. He's a mentor. He's a lot of things to me. So thank you very, very much. I truly appreciate that. And I can see a lot of people even just saying thank you. So I'm just going to allow us if you have questions, please kindly raise up your hand. We can allow you to unmute, or if you want to type out your questions, please do. But like I would always say, you see, these sessions that we do, it's not just we're not just gathering people to do workshops and have conversations. The goal is that that you become better versions of yourself. That's really why we're doing what we're doing. At the end of the day, if you spend, how many hours have you spent here, and then you go back and you don't do anything about it, that's not my fault, that's your fault, right? But the encouragement is that take what you're learning and do something with it, right? So if you have questions, please raise up your hand. We can always just allow you to unmute, or you can type out your questions and we'll read it, and we'll definitely take the question. So if you have any questions, raise up your hand or just type out. Harrison, are we forming a WhatsApp group? Well, if you would coordinate the WhatsApp group, I don't mind. But we have a WhatsApp group. I don't know if you're there, but if you want to form another one and you coordinate it, because I'm looking for people who would, volunteer and do things. So if you want to form a WhatsApp group and you will coordinate it, you tell me how you coordinate it. All well and good. But we have a WhatsApp group. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions at all? You can type it out, or you can. So somebody says, how is emotional intelligence? Guys, please, so I just want to say something before we go ahead. I don't like when people are shy, right? Unmute yourself, put on your camera and talk. Confidence is a skill, right? So if you have a question, you have something you want to say, feedback, raise up your hand. There's no need to be shy. How is emotional intelligence data? Somebody is asking that. Sir, please, I really wish to be selected among the 3 persons you chose to give free section. Okay. Please let me join the existing one, okay? Okay, somebody's hand is raised up. I can't see the person's hand, but Otto Obong, F. Young, has asked, how is emotional intelligence a data? So you can answer that. Favor, who is the person's hand? Whose person's hand is
Okay, we have David.
Yeah, okay. We have Ozemela, we have Musa, we have David, and we have HP's iPhone. So we can just give them numbers. Ozemela will go first, Musa will go second, David will go third, and then the HP's iPhone will be the 4th person.
Okay.
So the first person.
Go ahead.
All right.
Sorry, before you go ahead, let me make sure that Mr. Tunji is still here. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Very loud and clear. Just trying to get my light back on.
Okay. So go ahead.
All right. Thank you for this golden opportunity. And thank you, our resource person. A long time ago, I happened to read about emotional and social intelligence by Daniel Goleman. And as you were teaching, my memory was recalling all the things you were teaching, and they were in alignment with what those books taught me. Okay, now, because I was a bit younger when I read those books, and the degree of understanding is quite different from now. I think now it's going to tend towards more practical application of the solutions outlined here. So, but I have a question.
Your network is, we can't seem to hear you.
Because in the place I work, I do, but at the end, my head on the job some time ago. Huh?
Am I the one, or I can't seem to hear?
Hello?
No, his network is going off and on. Okay, he's back. Yes, go ahead, please. We can hear you now.
All right. So even when after I do much, because I happen to be a contract staff now in the place of the staff. So who of us we are staff together before in another location. So in a situation where every time he continues to talk down on you, and even when you know you are the one doing the job, so a lot of things are happening, and we are all humans. So sometimes I lose.
I can't seem to. I think you need to settle your network because we can't even hear you at all.
Oh, wow.
So maybe you want to go out and come back. Is that fine?
Okay, I'll do that. But in the meantime, I think
When you come back, then you can ask your question. Who's the next person in favor?
That is the second person.
Who?
Musa.
Musa, please go ahead and unmute.
Hello, good evening, sir. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Your voice is very low. There's a lot of noise at the background and your voice is low.
Maybe we should tell them to type it so they don't devour the time. In 5 minutes, we haven't been able to ask any questions because people are not keeping to the group rules. Maybe we should ask them to type. Tell me, what do you think?
Yeah, you can type. If your network is bad, type. Okay, who's the next person?
Next is David.
David, go ahead. I hope your network is okay.
Good evening, everybody. Please confirm you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Go ahead,
We can
David.
now.
Loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Tunji Babajide. Thank you for that very insightful words or multiple words or sentences you have made and said. And thank you, Temi, for this opportunity. In fact, this was very insightful. And before I start, I want to make a little comment to what you said. I want to add to it and just ask a question. Just confirm to me if this is correct. So you said reactions lead to relationships. Good reactions lead to good relationships and good reputation. So in the same way, you can have that go as bad reactions lead to bad relationships and bad reputations. So I just wanted to add, after it, can you say good reactions lead to good relationships and good reputation, and a reflection of it brings you back to emotional insights, reading what happened after an incident, and now going back to the reaction you're going to give them. So what I now wrote down is reactions lead to relationships and reputation. Then a reflection is a cycle that takes you back to the reaction. And when you learn from the reflection of what happened, you will give a better reaction. So some reactions, as time goes on, get better through reflection or looking at the entire incident. So my question now is, reflection is like the total sum of everything. When you've done something and you take a hind look at it and you reflect on it and ask yourself, was that the best decision? Was that the best reaction for that fit that situation or incident? Now the question is, regret comes. That is when you now realize that you made a bad decision. Do you prefer to have regret of something you did or something you did not do? That's my question. I'm trying to join all this up in one statement. There are always regrets. I know our parents, some of our grandparents will say, okay, I regretted doing this, or I regretted not doing this. So the question is, which is heavier? Regretting doing something or regretting not doing something at all or not doing anything at all? So that's the question.
I'm trying to answer your question in a very holistic way. So, so this is what I would say. There is the norm around, I think I missed that when I was speaking. There's a norm around the right or wrong. All right? If you camp around the right or wrong, you will be suboptimal. There is a higher level where emotional intelligence is, which is doing the needful. All right? There are times when it's needful to be quiet in a place. There's a time where it's needful to speak up. All right? So I don't like to give a one-size-fits-all to answers. So there might be other things playing out, when people regret, So I know if someone perceives their decision as a mistake, they may regret not having to make a different choice, especially if the outcome is negative. And that's because you are human. But I also believe that regret can stem from the gap between the person hoped for and the reality that you experience. So if the person had high expectations for, a certain event, a relationship, maybe, and those expectations weren't met, it can lead to regret. However, I always believe that sometimes regret can be a good platform where you can now use it to reflect. All right? I also like to talk about the fear of missing out. Regret can also arise when people feel they've missed out on, other opportunities, whether it's a career path. Even what is driving social media is fear of missing out. We call it FOMO. So the word regret, I will not just camp around it as bad, and I won't camp around it as good. I will camp around it about how the person who feels he regretted his action used that as an insight to make a better decision. Because like I said, emotion is data. That's data. It gives you data. Oh, I feel regret. Why am I feeling regret? All right. It shows an expectation was not met. Okay. If it wasn't met this time, can I use that regret to reflect so I can become a better version of myself? That's how I will approach it. I hope I answered your question.
Yes,
I've got 3 more minutes to go.
Yes, perfectly.
Okay.
So HP iPhone. Do you want to unmute?
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Mr. Tunji. Thank you very much for your very wise words. I'll go directly to my question. When faced with intense emotions such as anger or fear, what actual practices or mental models do you find most effective in transforming that energy into somewhat of a constructive action or insight rather than simply just reacting?
Okay, if you go back to the session, I'm not sure when you joined. I said when you're feeling, number one, you need to name it. So you move to the place of you are feeling angry. You should ask yourself, so why am I feeling angry? Because sometimes our feeling is not justified. Have you seen people feel angry because someone denied them of being entitled? So you should use that that's why I said emotion is data. That's data. For the lady who asks, how is emotions data? If you are feeling angry, that's data. What's data? So I think the data you're relating to is data of network, data of mental. No, data is what it can be gathered. So from someone who is that you felt disrespected, you gathered data. For someone who you requested to send you urgent 2K and said you're entitled and you did it for 2 days, that's data. Okay. So for the man who asked the question about what's my thought? What was the last question about again?
I think we're saying what techniques or skills can you use when you are.
Okay. So if you are feeling angry, use that, ask yourself the question, so why am I feeling angry? What is this anger telling me? All right. Then the third question, when you ask those two ones, then go to the third one, which is, what can I do differently with this insight I've gotten? Because like I said, if let's use the urgent twitch as an example. You ask someone to give you money, you know the person has money, and the person says no. You're now angry because of it. The question is anger the only emotions available to respond to what has happened? Don't forget I said, it's not what happens to you that is the problem, it's how you are interpreting it. Can you begin? So the tool you can use is to change the interpretation you are giving to the instance. So it's not the denying you of the urgent 2K that is the problem. It's the interpretation. So that's why I said it's important for you to give, if you are having negative emotions about something, change the interpretation you have about it, and you'll be shocked how you'll be relieved out of it. Because that same person, another person, so we're using urgent twitch as an example. You ask an uncle who has money, you saw on social media that his son just posted that they bought a Range Rover, and you know your uncle is Ijebu. If you buy a Range Rover is 25 million, he will have 35 million net. And you said, this, uncle, I need 50K to fix the screen on my phone. And he says no. Okay? That no can be an opportunity for someone to say, don't worry, I will buy a Range Rover for your son on his wedding day. Another person, based on interpretation, will say, it's because my father died early now. If not that, will they be using Range Rover to be using Shakara? So it's about interpretation. Emotions is about interpretation. So change your interpretation to it and watch how your intense emotions begins to, reduce the intensity. All right?
Okay, thank you, sir. Last question, no more questions. How do you handle a colleague boss who treats you with so much disrespect and talk down your contributions despite helping him attain his KPIs?
Thank you. So in life, there are two things. There are things that happen to you that are within your control. There are things that happen to you that are outside of your control. Your boss misbehaving is outside of your control. You will wear out yourself when you are angry over what you don't have control over. Number one. Number two, I believe you work perhaps somewhere in Nigeria, a lot of CEOs have money, but they don't have emotional intelligence. A lot of leaders. That's why I mentioned psychological safety earlier. All right? If you know that you don't have another job and your urgent 2K is coming from there, you have to now bulletproof your emotions. How do you bulletproof your emotions? Just manage your expectation. Do you know why we're upset? Because our expectations are not met. You say, this guy has LLMB, PhD, and he's your manager. So you thought that those certifications, how they have spoken highly of his professional competence, will play out in his relationship management. No. And when people show you who they are 3 times, believe them. So the first time I shouted on you, second time, if you're angry the 4th time, I will blame you. Because this guy has given you data to work with. His wife came to drop the car. You went to buy food in the car park. You saw him shouting on his wife. He's shouting on you. He sent another colleague a horrible mail. You have enough data to manage him. So when you know that you have placed him as angry boss, you will stop reacting to whatever he does. The reason why you're upset by his action is because you have not managed your expectations. So when you know that, it's just like someone, I like to use this illustration a lot. Your colleague borrowed money for you from the first time. She says, my wife is in the hospital, please borrow me 50K. You borrowed him. Then they paid salary and say, what of that money? Sorry, my car broke down. Give you a story. Then the second time, give you another story. Grandpa is in the hospital, life and death. And you that you are very, gullible. You borrow another 100. They paid salary again, he gave you a story. If you borrow him money the 3rd time, he's not the one that has the problem, it's you that has the problem. Because he has proven to you that he doesn't have integrity of returning money. It's the same thing with your boss. You need to know that that is who he is. If you can't resign, the best way to bulletproof your emotion is don't take things personal. 1, 2, manage your expectation. He's a human being. It's not so don't expect. When you expect that somebody will send you a bad mail, it's like have you gone to a party before and you know that meat will not be enough? Maybe you will branch somewhere and eat so that even if they don't give you meat there, you are not upset. All right? It's the same thing. This guy has given you enough data to say, I am a terrible boss. There's nothing he should do again that should surprise you. That's another way to bulletproof your emotion. And those kind of offices, there's no psychological safety. So you can't even say, I will run an open door policy. Come and tell me your mind. You know what they call foul. So bulletproof your emotions and begin to look for another place. Because I'm very big on mental health. There are people who've gained a job, but they have lost their mind. So then number 4, change the meaning you are attaching to what it's doing to you. It's about meaning. One says, somebody looked at me somehow and dragged his face. And something entered his eye. It's meaning. Or I can do like this. Some people will say I'm saying that the head is not correct. Other people say, oh, sorry, he's scratching his head. Meaning. Change the meaning you attach to what it does and you'll be fine until you get another job. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that's okay. I sincerely want to appreciate you, sir. And I know that I've had this on my mind for a long time. I think we're going to do it. And it's just, I think I wrote it down somewhere, but it has to do with maybe sometime in the year, but we'll do it in terms of healing from childhood trauma and how that can really help people to, in fact, if you don't heal from childhood trauma, it affects every aspect of your life, your career.
Every aspect. So sorry for cutting you, Timmy. And an average child in Africa grew up traumatized. So when I see certain people behave in certain ways, if I sit with you in 10 minutes, I know the level of the trauma you are in, either intense, whether you had intense trauma growing up, or you had a mild trauma growing up, or you had severe trauma growing up. So when I see it, when people ask me for suggestion of what to do, I even feel that for anyone who grew up in Nigeria, you need therapy because that environment is toxic on its own. You are now grew up under parents who are toxic. You are working under a boss that is toxic, and you want a marriage to work. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. And the curriculum churches and mosques are putting out is not delivering the value that is required. It's a lot more technical. Mm-hmm. I've had to help a couple of churches rephrase their marriage counseling manual because what they have is what the GO did in 1985, 1994. Things have evolved. Any counseling for marriage that doesn't first deal with therapy will not be able to optimize that marriage. They can be managing, but it will at some point they will almost want to hit the rock. All right. And there are many people who are separated. Some people are separated. They're living in the same household, but there's physical separation, there's spiritual separation, there's emotional separation. I've had a couple before that they were living in different rooms under the same roof, and they only talk by chat, and they abuse themselves. They will say, "Ken, the foolish boy, please, gas has finished." Don't always say. Because of cultural context. And you see, the best actors, they're not in Nollywood, though. The best actors are in marriage. They will wear jersey, but the venom on each other's mind. And they are recycling that experience and selling it to their nieces and nephews. And there's just much deception and hypocrisy everywhere. Anyway, thank you for having me. For the lady who said, can I speak at the event? I've dropped my number. I look forward to hearing you. Timmy, thank you for having me. I've got to run. I look forward to us doing this again.
Thank you very much. I surely will reach out to you again. Thank you very much. Okay. So very quickly, everyone, please, if you can just put up the, thank you very much, sir. If you can just put up the, what's it called now, the poll, so that people can vote. And we're having more sessions. We're going to have another one, another session in April. And we'll have more. There'll be so much more sessions. So there's a poll in the section. You can just please fill that poll. And I think I sent a direct message to people. If you can respond, that is Harrison and Matthias. If you guys can please send me your full names and your WhatsApp number, please. Harrison and Matthias. If you guys can send me your full name and WhatsApp number, please, before we close. But please, if you guys can please click on the poll. The reason for the poll is so that we can serve you better. We can know exactly what you need, and we can bring speakers and things that would actually help you. Right. Our goal is really to see how we can really help as many people as we can this year. So Harrison and Matthias, please send me your full name and and your WhatsApp number, please. Very quickly, please. But thank you to every single person. Thank you for joining. Thank you for staying. I'm hoping that you go back and you take these things. If you're on the group, if you have any questions, if you need any help, please reach out. Right. We're here to help as much as we can. If you're on the group and you need any assistance, just send. Even if we don't open the group because we don't want people to just be sending different kinds of things. But if you want any form of assistance, you can send a direct message to any of the people who are admin. Okay, so let's do this very quickly, please. If you can just fill that while I wait for Onye. Dozie, do we send the recording to everyone?
We're streaming live on YouTube, so we're going to send it.
Yes, sir.
You can always watch it on YouTube. Harrison, I'm still waiting for your I'm waiting for your name and your full name and WhatsApp. Okay, so in the meantime, thank you to every single person. I want to say thank you to Mr. Tunji for spending time and really going through this with us. Thank you to all the volunteers. Everyone you can see with a background that is green is part of the team. Myself, Dozier, Nifemi, Favor. Thank you guys very, very much. I truly appreciate it. I have a very small team and they do like an amazing job. So thank you very, very much, guys. Without you guys, I cannot do this. And to every single person who has joined today, I really want to say thank you. But beyond saying thank you, like I would always say, go back, reflect on these things, and begin to practice it. Right? That's how you grow. And, when you have a job, if they say you should, come and show how you have emotional intelligence, I'm sure you have examples of how you can, do that. And if you have a business, you can be a better boss, be a better person generally, right? Okay, I'm still waiting for, is it Harrison now? Okay. Do we have enough people who have filled the poll so that we can go? Do we have enough people? Onye, you can always watch it on if you're on the group, Dozier would drop the link for the YouTube channel, and also I believe that the Zoom link will be sent, so you can always watch it again. But it's on YouTube because we're also streaming on YouTube. It's on YouTube.